Let's get some further analysis from General Sir Richard Barrons. He's a former commander of the British Joint Forces Command. General, Ukraine says a counteroffensive has pushed out Russian forces north of Kharkiv, recapturing some villages around that key city. Well, what do you make of Russia's operation in the east of the country?
So whilst it is clear the Ukrainian military have had some success around Kharkiv to the north, and that's causing the Russian forces to redeploy some elements to try and contain that as it gets quite close to the border with Russia, we should keep our eyes on the battle in the Donbass, which is the main feature of the war right now. It has not gone well for the Russians by their own standards, but it's a very long way from being over, and we should be even-minded about the outcome at this point.
You say it hasn't been going well for Russia so far. We're some 11 weeks into this conflict. Why do you think Russia is doing so badly in Ukraine? Is this a lack of momentum, or is it a mismatch between Putin's expectations and reality on the ground?
It's been a failure from day one in almost every aspect of how a war like this would have been constructed and expected to run. So a failure of intelligence, a fundamental misappreciation of how Ukraine would respond to this attack, a failure of planning, of logistics, of training. Quite a lot of the air and ground forces are simply not had the training to do what they're being asked to do. And above all of that, we've seen the insidious effects of corruption touching almost every part of this operation in the way food, fuel, ammunition, spare parts have all been depleted as a result of people siphoning off money, I think for years. So the Russian forces have simply not been able to make the progress that they intend to make. And the reordering in the Donbass of trying to do one big thing at once rather than three things concurrently has not yet succeeded, because they've not been able to focus enough force at the same place and time to break through. And the Ukrainian resistance has been very powerful. However, this has a long way to go. And as the Russians learn and concentrate force, we should anticipate in the end their much greater strength could still prevail.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if time is on Russia's side. If we do see a lengthy war in Ukraine, we've already seen millions of Ukrainians flee the country and thousands more have been killed. Even if the West does continue to supply aid and military support to Ukraine, is Russia likely to win a war of attrition if this drags on for potentially years?
So I think that's a very key question. So right now, this summer, probably Russia owns the clock because it can produce more military force into the Donbass and indeed in due course elsewhere in Ukraine if it wants to, without actually going for mobilization. But as time passes, and particularly if Ukraine remains so well supported by the West, the ownership of the clock will begin to shift to Ukraine, because the Russian economy is suffering. It can probably afford this war for about another 2 years. The Russian military are wearing out their people and equipment and stocks. And without going to mobilization, they will begin to struggle to try to do the things they're trying to do. And the Ukrainian military, learning on the job, are now firmly connected to Western economies, industries, and arsenals. And that's giving them the materials they need in order to hold the line in the Donbass and elsewhere, at least for now.
All right, we'll leave it there. General Sir Richard Barrons joining us from London. Thank you.